Welcome to Mana's Seal YouTube channel. The previous video link is on the description box or on the top right card. Volume 15, The Half-Elf Godkin. The correct way to do things would be to prepare drinks for Ains, even though he couldn't drink, and then on top of that provide them for others as well. I feel sorry for the guests we had until now. He decided to talk about it with Pestania later, as he was getting flustered that he was wasting too much brain power on things unrelated to this meeting. Wait, that's not what I should be thinking about now. I should be deciding on the place for our drinks. The twins would think that I don't like having tea at their house if I wait any longer. That would be bad. But, troubled, Ains looked around. Ains suppressed his shoulders from twitching at Aura's sudden vocalization. His mind was also forcibly cleared of excessive thoughts with this sudden scare. Is Ains Sama thinking of having the conversation somewhere else on the 6th floor? That's right. The weather is great, so I was thinking maybe we should do it outdoors. In that case, I will make preparations. We have parasols and a table with us. These were the things Bikubika Chigama-sama used when she had to converse with the other supreme beings. We can use them. There's a vacant house in the village. Also, I haven't shown it to Ains Sama yet, but there's a gazebo on this floor too. I remember visiting it with everyone. Ains suddenly remembered the time spent with his comrades talking about meaningless things. I feel like I am remembering them less and less recently. Perhaps it was because he stopped seeing his comrades' shadows in the NPCs. It's either because he was slowly forgetting about his former comrades, or maybe he had started seeing the NPCs increasingly as independent entities. It would be fine if it was the latter case, but it would be sad if it turned out to be the former. All of Suzuki Satori's pleasant memories that shine even now were made with his former comrades. That's not it. These are not past memories. Ains Ulgaon is still here. It is still alive. Ains let out a sigh while his heart burned with emotions he could not describe. He turned his gaze towards Aura and Mare. Everyone, I wonder how they felt when those people left this place. No, they were still NPCs back then. If at that moment, oops. He shook his head. His thoughts were going on too many tangents. He had to make sure this plan succeeded. Ains took a look around. It seemed like no one noticed anything was weird with him. They were probably thinking that he was musing on Aura's proposal. Now was a good time to put a lid on his thoughts. Well then. This floor is not bad, but this is such a rare occasion, we may as well have our conversation somewhere else. Maybe it's good to have them take a look at other places under our rule. If he wanted to count on their goodwill, it would be better if it was in a place they were used to, but he just wanted to get away from here. In that case, what would be a good place? There were two options. One was Irantal. The other one was Nazark's 9th floor. These elves would form a good impression if they were to see the various races coexisting in Irantal, but he couldn't be sure that there wouldn't be any problems. If something violent were to occur, like them being attacked, he had many ways to protect the elves, and it would also help earn the elves' trust. However, it would be troublesome if someone did something to give the elves a negative impression. For example, if someone were to put on an act and call the Sorcerer King the source of all their hardships. As a part of the plan, maybe he could mind control some humans and have them work in tandem, but it would just make the elves suspicious. In the first place, Ains was a source of fear in Irantal. Though there were people who admired him, they were in the minority. The ratio was something like 70 to 30 unfortunately. Therefore, it would be a bad idea if he were to let them see people in fear of him. Also, there was the danger of the elves getting the wrong idea that the various races in Irantal were brought there as slaves. With that in mind, as I thought, it should be the 9th floor. In that case, where, on the 9th floor? Should it be Ains's room, counting it as practice for Lumiere in providing refreshments? Ains pondered. Getting drinks in the CEO's room or having drinks in a cafe? Which one will put him at ease if he was in their place? There's only one answer. There's nothing else to think about. Let's go to the 9th floor. There is a cafeteria. Let's talk while having a light lunch. Did you have your lunch yet? Actually, Ains was also trying to loosen them up by having their stomachs filled. He took some time getting here, so he was worried that they had already finished their lunch. Well, no, they were informed beforehand of his arrival. They couldn't have had leeway to have lunch when they did not know the exact time he would reach them. Good. Then let's have our talk while having lunch. Ains turned his gaze towards the elves. How about that? The elves started panicking, trying to push each other into being the one to give an answer. The one in the middle ended up replying, more as a result of her being pressured on both sides, rather than her willingly standing up as their representative. It was certainly not something he could decide on without asking the twins, Ains thought, so he asked them as well. If it's no problem, I want to take them to the cafeteria. What do you think? I want the both of you to come as well if possible. It's okay with us. Right, Mayor? No, I mean yes. I am fine with it just as sister said. That's good. Well then, Ains looked at the elves. I am going to open a gate. They first returned to the 6th floor's entrance with gate. Then, Ains sent a message to Oriole to open a gate to the 9th floor. Naturally, the gate between the 8th and 9th floors worked without an issue. If that wasn't the case, then it was highly likely the Arian system would be triggered. There really was no need to take this roundabout way. Though he couldn't teleport everyone there at once due to the capacity limit of the Ring of Ainsul gown, he could have just made the trip twice. It was Ains's cautious heart that made him go through all this trouble just to give the elves the wrong impression. The fact was that he was extremely reluctant about showing the ring's abilities to others. Cocytus's subordinates, who were on guard duty, bowed their heads deeply at Ains's arrival. Thank you for your hard work. Ains gave them a simple magnanimous greeting, befitting the aura of a ruler. Following Aura and Lumiere, the 3 elves came out from the gate and bunched up together. They froze in their tracks the moment they saw the monsters bound to Ains. It was not like Cocytus's vassals were being hostile toward them. That was a natural reaction, just like how a normal person walking through a forest would freeze if they saw a tiger suddenly appearing out of a bush. One of the elves was slightly pushed from behind. As they froze before the gate, they were being a nuisance for Mare, who walked behind them. Even though he only pushed her lightly, probably controlling himself, it was fatal for the tense elf's sense of balance. Letting a pitiful cry, she collapsed onto the floor. Blood drained from the other elves' faces, and though they immediately tried to get her back up, the collapsed elf had trouble standing back up. It looked like she couldn't force her legs to work. Don't be afraid. There's no one who would lay a hand on you in Nazareth. Yes. They probably didn't doubt Ains's words, but even so, their tension wouldn't let up. The elves by her side were quickly nodding their heads, their hair flying around from how hard they were nodding. As for the elf still on the floor, it seemed like she was on the brink of tears. Ains could say with confidence that it would be problematic going forward if this continued. He had to make their hearts a bit more pliable at the very least. Let's head for some place to take a short rest before heading to the cafeteria. Gate. Or pick her up. Okay. No need for Aura-sama to do something like, it's fine. Okay, let's go. Aura briskly lifted the collapsed elf, ignoring her pleas, and put her over her shoulder. Of course, as she wore work fatigues, there was no skirt to peek under. The place connected by the gate's dark hemisphere was Ains's personal room. There were 3 bound maids inside with cleaning equipment at their feet. Good work everyone. I will leave soon after taking a short rest here. I don't mind if you continue with your work. The maids replied in the affirmative and bowed again while the others came out from the gate. The elves started gawking at their surroundings with their mouths open, looking like idiots. It seemed like they found everything around them quite exotic, different from the twins' home. They also looked less tense compared to before, probably because the regular maids were far more agreeable than Cocytus's monster-like vassals. Or, let her sit in that chair over there. After Ains pointed to Albedo's chair, Aura quickly put the elf down on it. Albedo's desk was spotless, just like her. By the way, Ains's desk was spotless too, albeit in a different sense of the word. Thank you very much. Ains tried to speak as gently as possible to the seated elf, bowing her head. No need, I can understand your shock, but just as I said before, be at ease. No one in Nazareth would bring any harm to you, so I don't mind if you take it easy. Well, it's not like they would suddenly feel at peace with just those words. Ains turned his back towards the elves, went over to one of the maids, and issued an order to her quietly. We will head to the cafeteria soon. Make sure that we will not meet anyone except you maids on our way there. Do the same thing in cafeteria as well, he wanted to say, but did not. No, never mind. There's no problem with the cafeteria being used as usual. Rather, it would be better if the others use it like normal. Yes, understood. I will take my leave then. Sorry for interrupting your work, but I'll be relying on you. Such words are not needed, Ains-sama. He approached her because she was the maid nearest to him, but seeing how she threw looks of victory at the other maids, it seemed she thought of it differently. Her colleagues frowned a bit at this with undeniable vexation. The maid with orders turned her back to her colleagues and walked out of the room with a spring in her step. Ains could sense, which should be rare for him as an undead, the other maids concentrating their gazes on his back. No doubt their eyes were filled with anticipation for any special kind of work that could be coming their way. By the way, he couldn't perceive anything from Lumiere, probably because being his maid in waiting for the day was special in itself. It felt like he was sitting on needles. Of course that wasn't the intention of the maids. Ains forced himself to look away from the maids and towards the elves. He confirmed that their breaths had returned to normal. It seems like there are no more problems, let's head out then. He didn't want to rush them as he thought it would look forceful, but he didn't want to stay here any longer.